Get ready with me while I talk about the 2024 election and the satellites. For those who don't know, my name is Ashley St. Clair. I was a MAGA influencer involved in MAGA politics for almost a decade. I know. Also, a quick aside, everyone was telling me that my vitamin C oil serum is also oxidizing because I was just putting the dropper on my skin, so we're going to put it on my hands today because I am working on taking feedback and adjusting my behavior. There is again a lot of discourse around, we shouldn't rebrand Ashley, she was involved in all this harm, and I was. And something that's very important for me to address is that these things happen to me, and I've said this many times before. The cruelty is happening to me because I ignored the cruelty and the pleas of others. There were many people, especially women, who spoke about the issues of single motherhood, of being involved in the court system, of being involved with powerful men, of being involved with men who have outsized influence and power, that I ignored. I ignored these people. Not only did I ignore them, but I talked shit about them. I used their experiences as a political talking point, as a political counter, and to my own detriment, okay? Great book I recommend is Hood Feminism, which I will get to that and some of my other deconstruction and what led up to that later, but this is all tangentially related. So I know I'm going to be jumping around in the timeline a little bit, but I'm processing everything and talking about it in chunks. That's just easier for me. So the year is 2024. I'm pregnant. I get pregnant in January of 2024. And I start gaining weight because that's what happens. And so immediately there are a lot of people speculating that I have a child with Elon because he is the most prominent person publicly associated with me at this point, and he has a harem. So Elon has never explicitly said or even really implied that this needs to be a secret, but I just am because I don't want to deal with it. That's a lot. But there are a lot of people speculating. There are a few people in my life who are aware. However, I made a very big mistake in telling one woman, who is referred to in other videos, especially my Real Housewives of Mar-a-Lago series, as Ozempic, because Ozempic uses this thing that is private and I want to keep under wraps as a means to social climb and for her to be like, oh, I know one of Elon Musk's baby mamas. And suddenly there's just many people who the only common denominator is this girl who know. We will get to that more in depth when we talk about how this all came out in the public sphere. But what I want to focus on is the election, okay? Because this was the first time in my life, and I know I was publicly tweeting about MAGA and elections and Trump, but this was the first time that I felt like my actions had consequences. And I know that sounds insane, but I was very divorced from the reality and the consequences or the fallout of any of my rhetoric or MAGA influencing until we started getting closer to the election. I just didn't think my words and my involvement or any of my actions had any sort of real influence outside of meme tweets. So Elon uses Trump's assassination attempt in Butler to say that this is the catalyst for him supporting Trump, even though he was already supporting Trump and working on his America PAC, yada yada. Now, in September, I put a dark black MAGA hat on Elon's head while he was at my house. This MAGA hat would become very well known and known as Dark MAGA, okay? I regret to inform everyone that I am responsible for Dark MAGA and the cringe that ensued thereafter. Elon is meeting up with like friends, mutual friends we have, and he's like, oh yeah, Ashley gave me this out, whatever. And then he does this whole dark MAGA thing on stage with Trump very publicly. And so simultaneously, there are a few things going on. I have this big, gigantic secret that I am having a child with the richest man in the world, and he is all over the news. And there is something just inherently dirty about keeping a secret, even if it's not anything wrong, and I'm not. There's just something that is psychologically fracturing about keeping a secret. Okay, and so now I am being reminded of this secret every time I open my phone or I turn on the TV. And not only that, but now he's jumping around on stage with this gift I gave him, and I like genuinely do not even know how to explain like psychologically what this felt like. And he wanted me to see this because then he is sending me the tweets that are like, Elon wears a dark MAGA hat. Like he's sending me these posts to show me like, look, I'm wearing the thing you gave me. So at this point, I'm like, I'm starting to realize that my actions now have like national and global impact, because it wasn't just this dark MAGA hat. This dark MAGA hat was an item that was for sale through the Trump campaign. And so these sales rose astronomically. And so at this point, I'm like, oh my God, I am responsible for raising a whole lot of money for the Trump campaign. And prior to this, like the only thing I'm doing is like tweeting. So I didn't have any large impact. And so this started to, like, I'm publicly supporting Trump, but then I'm like privately grappling with this situation, and I'm just really, really uncomfortable. And then October rolls around. And in October, Elon tells me that he is ready to release his, in his words, anomaly in the Matrix. And I am like, oh, like, who's that? And he says that he has 10,000 lasers in space, referring to his satellites. I say, because I am like rather uncomfortable and I know the gravity of what he's trying to tell me right now, I say, wow, finally a focus on the Jewish vote. He keeps going and he says, you know, this is not a piece that they'll see on the chessboard. And I straight up tell him, I say, I would ask more, but I really don't want to be deposed. To which he says, very wise. Shortly after that, you know, he's involved with America PAC and all of this other stuff, and he's sending me some internal data from America PAC, real-time Delta vote metrics. And I am just like, you have this sort of data, you don't get this from door knocking, because that was one of my first jobs in politics was in campaigns and cleaning up this bad data from door knocking, because the vendors that America PAC is using at this point is a vendor that hires Craigslist crackheads for door knocking, and I wish I was exaggerating there, but I'm not. I know, like, I have caused harm with my rhetoric. However, I never like sought out to cause harm. Like, there were parts of me that really wanted like the best for the country, for America, for democracy. And one thing is, I have always hated big tech. So then to have arguably the most powerful man in the world who is sending me things about, you know, using his space technology in the election. I should also say that I have all of this backed up with many people with explicit instructions should anything happen to me, okay? But this was something that I was internally wrestling with, while publicly not really showing that I was having any of these internal ethical conflicts with myself regarding this information. And then on election night itself, Elon, left Mar-a-Lago early. I was at Mar-a-Lago, and he told me over text, he's like, yeah, I knew hours ago that Trump won. My team has the best real-time data anywhere, real-time data on elections. How do you have real-time data? I could not understand that. I don't know that I ever will. I saw some shit, guys. Like, I saw some shit, and I'm fighting really hard to keep my voice because I saw shit that impacts everyone. And if I was self-interested, I have been offered the self-interested deal to shut up and not talk about anything. But what I can tell you is I've not been offered certain deals just because I know that he's weird, okay? I saw some shit. And, like, talking about this just sounds crazy. Like, I feel like I sound like a crazy person when I'm like, yeah, he told me about his space lasers and the election. Like, this is the best I can do is talk about it now. Despite the immense harassment and intimidation of my family that has been going on. Yeah. Anywho, there's a lot of questions about my eyeshadow, and I never mentioned it because it was a James Charles palette, and I hate him and don't want to give him any money. So today we're going to be using the Patrick Ta palette. Tried and true, okay? I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to me. Like, I don't know if I'm going to they're going to pull an Amber Heard, sue me for defamation. I don't know. All I know is I don't want this only in my head anymore. I don't want that burden anymore. And I need it off of my head. I need other people who know about this because, in my opinion, it's no good, very bad bears, okay? I don't even know if these videos will be allowed to stay up. I could get a court order tomorrow saying that I need to take them down. I have no idea, but what I'm gonna do is get everything out there while I still retain the ability to do so. I care about my children more than anything in this world. I feel immense guilt for just putting them in this situation to begin with. But I want them to have a country. I want them to have access to democracy. I want everyone to have access to the democracy that we're supposed to. And I am increasingly concerned about our lack of regulations and investigations into how technology is being used to thwart democracy. If you guys thought Cambridge Analytica was bad, okay, it is my opinion that what is happening, especially combined with the behavioral inference model of X and XAI, Twitter, that this is a million times worse than anything we saw with Cambridge Analytica. And that's my opinion. And I have these messages. I have the documents, and I've already provided them to someone who's working on a much larger project than just my testimony that hopefully will do some good with it in the coming months. Yeah. And, there's been people saying, like, oh, well, he's not suing for defamation, so she must be telling the truth. Anyone can sue you for defamation. Just because someone sued you for defamation, like that should not, the lawsuit itself, and rich people do this all the time, like the lawsuit itself they will use to say like, oh, see, like I have grounds, but that doesn't mean that I've said anything defamatory, even if they do sue me for defamation. Which is a possibility. Like they could still do this just because they can. They have infinite resources. The bar of evidence is not just like a claim. You then have to prove the claim, which that would not go anywhere. I would never be found liable of defamation, but it is a possibility. It's a possibility that government agencies could be weaponized because of the connections in there. I have no idea. I don't know. It is scary, and again, the best thing I can do is talk about what I know now, because I feel immense guilt for even sitting on all of this as long as I have, but I've been, and I've tried to articulate, I've been a very scared and broken individual for basically my entire adult life. And having kids makes you ask the question, like, am I going to fight for something bigger? Like, what example am I going to be to my kids? And the other aspect is like, do I talk about this publicly? Because, any individuals involved could then clean up the mess if they know that I'm talking about it, but I don't know. I'm just going to tell you guys right now, I don't know what the right thing to do is, so I'm just going to talk to the internet about it. And if very resourceful people who have immense resources, are going to have my family physically followed, physically harassed, and confronted, people associated with my family, then I'm going to make sure your skin is under my fingernails.
Elon Musk's former partner claims the ex-owner hinted at using advanced technology in the 2024 elections. Yes, hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. One thing, don't hesitate to subscribe, tap on the post notification bell for more updates to come. And in today's video, Ashley St. Clair, Elon Musk's former partner, claims that he allowed using advanced technology in 2024 elections. And seeing how people are reacting towards this, one comes in to say he didn't hint at anything. He flat out confessed by you all still on Twitter and still driving Tesla. And I'm saying we've been knew this, and I'm saying thanks for letting the world know after it happened. So what do you think about this and how people are reacting towards this? Comment, like, share, and also subscribe. Bye.